Have you ever wondered what truly hid behind the royal masks of Europe's most powerful monarchs? We imagine them as untouchable, draped in velvet, crowned with gold, and walking through marbled halls as if they were gods among men. But history has a cruel way of peeling back the layers. Behind those portraits, beneath the heavy robes, many kings and queens suffered from diseases their courtiers dared not name aloud. In an age before antibiotics, before modern medicine, sexually transmitted diseases, especially syphilis, swept through the courts of Europe with devastating efficiency. And no amount of power, wealth, or divine right could save them. Today, we journey through the lives of 7 monarchs whose reigns were shadowed by syphilis and other STDs, illnesses that not only eroded their health but sometimes altered the fate of entire kingdoms. This is not a tale of gossip. It is a chronicle of medical reality in an era when science and superstition fought for dominance. 1. Henry VIII of England, 1491 to 1547. If there's one monarch whose personal life has been endlessly dissected, it's Henry VIII. Famous for his 6 wives and the creation of the Church of England, Henry's romantic escapades were far from discreet. By the time he reached his late 30s, rumors swirled that the king was suffering from syphilis, a disease then known as the Great Pox. Physicians of the Tudor court prescribed mercury-based ointments, a common, and dangerous, treatment of the time. These remedies could cause severe side effects, including neurological damage, which may explain some of Henry's later mood swings and erratic decisions. While definitive medical proof is impossible, the Tudors didn't keep detailed medical records for obvious reasons. Contemporary sources note Henry's bouts of ulcers, leg sores that refused to heal, and a noticeable decline in his cognitive health. Some historians argue that these symptoms could have been caused by type 2 diabetes or Cushing syndrome, but the possibility of an STD remains plausible, especially given the king's well-documented infidelities. Regardless of the exact diagnosis, Henry's deteriorating health played a major role in the political instability of his later reign. 2. Ivan IV of Russia, Ivan the Terrible, 1530 to 1584. Few rulers have lived up to their epithet quite like Ivan the Terrible. His reign was marked by expansion, brutality, and bouts of paranoia that bordered on the unhinged. Modern historians have long speculated that syphilis played a role in his infamous volatility. Court chronicles describe him as suffering from skin lesions, sudden bursts of rage, and cognitive decline in his later years, symptoms consistent with the tertiary stage of untreated syphilis. Medical historians point to his erratic decrees, violent purges of the nobility, and his habit of oscillating between religious devotion and sadistic cruelty as potential evidence of neurological impairment. In his final years, Ivan's face reportedly became disfigured, and his mobility suffered. While some argue that Ivan's mental deterioration could have stemmed from chronic stress and poisoning, the pattern of symptoms fits disturbingly well with what syphilis was known to do to the mind and body in the 16th century. 3. Christian VII of Denmark and Norway, 1749 to 1808. Christian VII ascended to the throne at just 17 years old, and from the outset, his behavior baffled his contemporaries. His reign quickly became a spectacle of erratic public appearances, inappropriate outbursts, and scandalous personal affairs. Early in his kingship, he contracted gonorrhea, and there is credible evidence to suggest he also suffered from syphilis, both of which were rampant in the European courts of the 18th century. Christian's mental instability worsened over time, leading historians to debate whether his condition was primarily psychiatric or a result of neurological complications from venereal disease. In the court, his incapacity to rule effectively allowed others, most notably his physician, Johann Friedrich Struensee, to assume near-complete political control. Struensee's reforms modernized Denmark but also sparked opposition, and he was eventually executed. 4. Henry III of France, 1551 to 1589. Known for his flamboyant court, religious wars, and political instability, Henry III's reign was also clouded by persistent whispers of syphilis. His enemies, and he had many, were quick to seize upon rumors of his illness to undermine his authority. Descriptions from contemporaries speak of skin eruptions, chronic fevers, and a weakened constitution, all of which may point toward venereal infection. Henry III's court was notorious for its decadence. Lavish banquets, masked balls, and the close company of his mignons, favored young courtiers, fueled speculation about his sexual habits. Although the political propaganda of the French wars of religion often exaggerated personal scandals, the king's declining health in his later years lends weight to the possibility of STD-related complications. In a period when syphilis was seen as both a moral failing and a medical death sentence, such rumors were political weapons as much as personal tragedy. 5. Mary I of England, 1516 to 1558. Mary I, known to history as Bloody Mary, is not typically associated with venereal disease, but some modern researchers suggest that she may have suffered from congenital syphilis, inherited from her father, Henry VIII. This theory remains controversial, but it is rooted in the medical mysteries surrounding her health. Mary endured 2 false pregnancies and chronic illness throughout her short reign. Reports of skin blemishes, fatigue, and abdominal swelling have led some to suspect underlying venereal infection, either congenital or acquired. Her reign was defined by a return to Catholicism and the persecution of Protestants, but her inability to produce an heir was a personal and political disaster. In the 16th century, infertility and reproductive complications were often linked, rightly or wrongly, to venereal disease. 6. Pedro II of Brazil, 1825 to 1891. Pedro II, the last emperor of Brazil, is often remembered as a wise and cultured monarch. Yet his personal life was not without scandal. While there is less conclusive evidence than in earlier cases, some biographers note that Pedro suffered from recurring skin issues and episodes of prolonged fatigue, which may have been symptoms of latent syphilis contracted during youthful affairs. The Brazilian court, like its European counterparts, was hardly immune to the spread of STDs, and physicians of the era still relied on dangerous treatments that could exacerbate the very illnesses they sought to cure. In Pedro's case, the evidence is circumstantial, and historians remain divided. But whether or not he truly carried the disease, his reign reflects the global reality of the 19th century. Venereal infections had become so widespread that no royal bloodline, from Paris to Rio de Janeiro, could claim immunity. 7. Alfonso XIII of Spain, 1886 to 1941. Alfonso XIII, who ruled Spain through some of its most turbulent years, was known for his charm, military interests, and, notoriously, his affairs. While married to Queen Victoria Eugenie, Alfonso maintained a string of mistresses, and historical accounts strongly suggest he contracted gonorrhea and possibly syphilis during his youth. His marriage suffered greatly, especially after Victoria Eugenie became a carrier of hemophilia, passing it to their sons, a genetic issue unrelated to STDs but indicative of the couple's strained intimacy. Diplomatic reports and private letters reference the king's venereal health in guarded terms, especially during state visits abroad. By the time he went into exile in 1931, Alfonso's physical vitality had diminished, and some scholars argue that untreated infections may have contributed to his declining health. In the broader sweep of history, Alfonso's rumored illnesses are a reminder that even in the modern era, royal privilege did not guarantee protection from the consequences of personal choices. From the Tudor courts to the Russian palaces, these 7 monarchs reveal a truth that their official portraits never intended to show: disease was an equalizer. In an era before penicillin, sexually transmitted infections could erode not only the body but also the stability of entire empires. The physical symptoms, disfigurement, chronic pain, infertility, and mental decline, were matched by the political dangers of rumor and scandal. Monarchs lived in a paradox. Their power shielded them from accountability but could not shield them from biology. Syphilis and other STDs left marks that went far beyond the individual. They influenced succession crises, shaped foreign policy, and even altered the religious and cultural landscapes of nations. While history often sanitizes its heroes, the reality is that their private lives and private illnesses were deeply intertwined with the fate of their people. So, knowing what we now do about the hidden struggles of these rulers, here's the question. If disease could shape the destiny of kings and queens, what unseen forces might be shaping the leaders of our own time? Let me know in the comments which of these royal stories shocked you most, and if you'd like me to uncover more of the medical secrets history tried to hide.